Welcome to Hollywood Graveyard, where we set out to remember and celebrate the lives of those who lived to entertain us by visiting their final resting places. Today we conclude our tour of Westwood Village Memorial Park, where we'll find such stars as Bettie Page, Frank Zappa, Natalie Wood, and many more. Join us, won't you? For this final stretch of our tour of Westwood Village Memorial Park, we'll be visiting the central lawn of the cemetery. This lawn is little more than an acre, so due to space limitations, many of the plots here are smaller cremation graves. If you haven't done so already, be sure to check out parts 1 and 2. We'll begin our tour at the eastern edge of the lawn. Just a few spaces in from the road, we find actor Burt Lancaster. He was a popular leading man of the 50s and 60s, known as much for his dashing smile and statuesque frame as he was for his acting. He was nominated for 4 Oscars, winning in 1961 for Elmer Gantry. Other films include The Rose Tattoo, The Crimson Pirate, and From Here to Eternity. Several rows south, we find singer Minnie Ripperton. She was renowned for her vocal range, an impressive 5 octaves. She began her career as a backup singer for artists like Etta James and Chuck Berry. By the mid-70s, she had her first #1 hit, Loving You.
Loving you is easy 'cause you're beautiful. Making love with you is all I wanna do.
Not long after, Minnie was diagnosed with breast cancer and underwent a mastectomy. She continued to record and tour through her cancer battle, and in 1978 became a spokesperson for the American Cancer Society. She died in 1979 at the age of 31. Her daughter is Saturday Night Live actress Maya Rudolph. A few spaces west on this same row is another legendary musician, Carl Wilson. Along with his older brothers, Carl formed the band The Beach Boys in the 1960s. The band quickly became one of the most popular and influential groups of the era, defining the California sound. Carl was lead guitarist and occasional vocalist, including on their hit, God Only Knows.
You never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you.
Straight north is the grave of Eve Arden. She was an actress whose career on stage, radio, and screen spanned 6 decades. In 1954, she became the first actress to win a Primetime Emmy for Best Female Star for her role in Our Miss Brooks. Other roles include Anatomy of a Murder, Grease, and Mildred Pierce, which earned her an Oscar nomination. West along this row, we find the queen of pinups, Bettie Page. With her trademark bangs, jet black hair, and blue eyes, she became one of the most popular pinup models of the 50s, and since then has become a cultural icon. She began her career as a pinup model, but soon moved into nude and even fetish and BDSM modeling in a time when it was still quite taboo, even illegal to do so. She quit modeling upon her conversion to born-again Christianity and fell into obscurity until she was rediscovered in the 80s and resurged in popularity. Her influence can be seen in popular and alternative culture, from the Suicide Girls to Dita Von Teese, rock stars and even comic book characters all pay homage to Bettie. In 2012, a documentary titled Bettie Page Reveals All was made about her life and features narrations by Bettie herself.
Ladies and gentlemen, here she is now, that sultry siren of the Southland, Bettie Page.
Bettie Page is revolutionary.
The symbol of joyous sexual freedom.
There was nothing like Bettie.
Still to this day, inspires artists,
Music.
The fashion world.
She really paved the way for all the rest.
She wasn't just a pretty face.
There was a fascinating story about this woman.
Several rows southwest of Bettie is another model, Dorothy Stratten. She was a Canadian model who posed for Playboy in the late 70s and in 1980 was named Playmate of the Year. She also had a brief acting career in B-films like Galaxina. Shortly after the release of the film, Dorothy was shot and killed by her estranged husband and manager, who then turned the gun on himself. She was only 20. Further west, a few rows south, is actress Dominique Dunne. She is best remembered for her spine-chilling performance as Dana in the 1982 film Poltergeist. Her Poltergeist co-star Heather O'Rourke is buried nearby, both having died tragically young. On October 30th, 1982, Dominique was strangled to unconsciousness by her ex-boyfriend, John Sweeney, in the driveway of her home. She went into a coma and died 5 days later at the age of 22. Sweeney was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and spent a paltry 3.5 years in prison for her murder. Further west is a cluster of small cremation graves. Along the top row, we find Sebastian Cabot. He was an English actor, perhaps best remembered as Mr. French, opposite Brian Keith, in the TV sitcom Family Affair, a role which earned him an Emmy nomination. He also lent his voice to many Disney productions, including Bagheera in The Jungle Book, and as the narrator on Winnie the Pooh.
This could be the room of any small boy, but it just happens to belong to a boy named Christopher Robin. Like most small boys, Christopher Robin has toy animals to play with, and they all live together in a wonderful world of make-believe. But his best friend is a bear called Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh for short.
Continuing west, just south of a large tree, we find the grave of actor Jim Backus. He provided the voice of the nearsighted cartoon Mr. Magoo and played the millionaire Thurston Howell III on Gilligan's Island.
The ship's aground on the shore of this uncharted desert isle, with Gilligan, the skipper too, the millionaire and his wife, a movie star, and the rest are here on Gilligan's Isle.
Straight north, west of a tree, is the grave of Lou Ayres. He starred as Paul in the 1930 film All Quiet on the Western Front, and was nominated for an Oscar for his role in Johnny Belinda. Right next to Lou is the unmarked grave of musician Frank Zappa, considered one of the most influential and stylistically diverse rock musicians of his generation. His music ranged from rock to jazz, fusion, even orchestral, and was often experimental and improvised, with lyrics that satirized American culture. One of his more popular songs, Valley Girl, featured his daughter, Moon.
Valley girl, she's a valley girl. Okay, fine, for sure. She's a valley girl in a clothing store. Okay, fine, for sure. She's a
Like, oh my god!
valley girl.
Like, totally!
Valley girl.
And Tito's like so bitchin'.
Valley girl.
I live in the Valley, and I can, totally relate to that song. #Valspeak. Zappa was incredibly prolific in his musical output. In 1995, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in 2016, a documentary was made about the life of Frank Zappa called Eat That Question, Frank Zappa in His Own Words. Let's head past the tree, back into the lawn. Here we find the grave of Richard Dawson. He has the distinction of having kissed more women on screen than anyone else in Hollywood. As the original host of Family Feud, he famously kissed every female contestant on the show, old and young, earning him the nickname the Kissing Bandit. He also played Peter Newkirk on Hogan's Heroes. Just southeast of Dawson is the unmarked grave of Roy Orbison. Roy was a popular rock and roll musician in the 60s and 70s. His hits include Only the Lonely, Crying, and Oh Pretty Woman.
Pretty woman, walking down the street. Pretty woman, the kind I like to meet. Pretty woman.
Straight east is the grave of another legendary musician, Sammy Cahn. He was a lyricist and songwriter known for his film and Broadway songs. Many of his hits were recorded by Frank Sinatra, like Come Fly With Me and 3 Coins in a Fountain, which earned him an Academy Award for Best Song. He was nominated for an astounding 26 Academy Awards, winning 4 times. He also wrote the lyrics for the beloved Christmas song, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, sung here by Dean Martin, who was buried nearby.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
A bit further east is Donna Reed. She was an actress who can be seen in such classic films as It's a Wonderful Life and From Here to Eternity, for which she won an Oscar. She also had her own TV sitcom, The Donna Reed Show, which ran from 1958 to 1966. Just northwest is the grave of actor Eddie Albert. He is perhaps best remembered for his role as Oliver Wendell Douglas on Green Acres. His co-star, Ava Gabor, is buried nearby. He was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for his roles in Roman Holiday and The Heartbreak Kid. Back east, up a few rows, is the grave of actor Bob Crane. His career began as a drummer and radio personality before moving into television, where he found his greatest success as Colonel Hogan on Hogan's Heroes, which ran from 1965 to 1971. In 1978, while living in Scottsdale, Crane was found bludgeoned to death in his apartment. The murder remains unsolved to this day. Just northwest, we find actress Natalie Wood. She won hearts the world over when she was just 9 years old for her role in Miracle on 34th Street. A successful acting career followed, transitioning from popular child star to ingenue when at 16 she starred opposite James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, a role which earned her an Academy Award nomination. One of her best-known roles is as Maria in the musical West Side Story.
Tonight, it all began tonight. I saw you and the world went away. Tonight, there's only you tonight. What you are, what you do, what you say.
The death of Natalie Wood in 1981 at the age of 43 is one of Hollywood's lingering mysteries. She was on a holiday boat trip off Catalina Island with her husband Robert Wagner and co-star Christopher Walken. Late on the night of November 28th, she somehow ended up in the water while trying to board a dinghy alone. Her body was found the next morning a mile away from the boat, the small dinghy found on a nearby beach. The official cause is listed as drowning and other undetermined factors. Finally, we head west to find one of Hollywood's legendary producers and studio kingpins, Darryl F. Zanuck. He is the man behind 20th Century Pictures, the most successful independent film studio in the 1930s. In 1935, Zanuck merged 20th Century with Fox Studios, creating one of Hollywood's greatest production companies, 20th Century Fox. Notable films made under his tenure include Laura, The Grapes of Wrath, and All About Eve, which earned him an Oscar. He wasn't afraid to tackle controversial issues such as racism, anti-Semitism, and environmentalism long before such themes were fashionable. The music from his film The Longest Day played at his funeral. And that concludes our tour. What are some of your favorite memories of the stars we visited today? Share them in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more famous grave tours. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. One of the reasons Joe DiMaggio chose Westwood for Marilyn Monroe's resting place was because two of her foster mothers were buried here. After Marilyn's mother had a mental breakdown, her mother's friend, Grace Goddard, took responsibility of young Marilyn, that is, Norma Jean. After a few stints in and out of foster homes and orphanages, Norma Jean found her only stable and somewhat permanent home at the age of 12, with Grace's aunt, Anna Lauer, the one woman she considered the closest thing she had to a real loving mother.
Well, when I went to live with a woman, her name is Mrs. E. Anna Lauer, and I used to do the dishes in the evening, and whistling, and she said, I never heard a child sing so much. So I did it during that period. I liked being with her, staying with her. I always kept in touch with her. I loved her very dearly. Aunt Anna, I adored her.